Wow. Nope. I'm gonna need the grass out of my coochie. This. Hi guys.
Hi, we are risking our lives here.
Coming to you live from Mdeni.
Empty.
Mdeni.
Good.
Bringing you backdrops, honey. Okay.
Serving views.
We're trying to do something different this time around. So,
Yeah. My name is Nopolo,
and I'm Bonolo.
and welcome back to
Did you see that?
Where we review our favorite reality TV shows, where we review our favorite movies, books still coming up, and also where we recommend whether or not you should watch it.
Yep.
So today we are actually going to be reviewing the last part of the Ultimatum season 3, which is inclusive of the reunion. And I think just to start off, so we are at episode 9 and 10, and what happens there is that it is now decision day.
Yep. So
And-
essentially, that's where they come up to decide if they're living together, if they are proposing to their trial partner, or if they are leaving single.
And so each of the couples are then needing to make a decision. And we start off with JR and
Shal and Zaina. Wow, 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 wow,
What a
wow,
shock,
wow. So
So initial thoughts, we actually thought that JR wouldn't propose actually.
yes,
And
we
safe
were
to
right.
say we were right.
We were right.
JR ends up not going ahead with the proposal. And just to say, we really just thought that like he was just giving a long-winded speech.
Yeah.
Longer than it needed to be.
15 minutes of the episode, guys, is just JR
Yes.
going on a spiel about how Zaina's amazing. She would make a beautiful wife. He's just not ready. And you know what? I said self-awareness is key.
And also just before that, just to say that like JR and Zaina's part, it was giving low budget, guys. I just need to explain this. Imagine Zaina is dropped off in a car, and then we're thinking that, you know, the setting is that like they'll take them to some beautiful backdrop of like a garden and enclosed area. And literally, I kid you not, JR grabs Zaina's hand, takes her out of the car, and then they
just stand
against
there.
the house.
It's almost like production was like, we don't have money. Asna mali to book
I need
the
to shut,
hotel. You're not gonna get married anyway, so let's just put you against this wall.
We don't need to spend money on you. Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so yeah, JR ends up just saying that he just feels that he's not ready to be a husband
100%.
or to be, you know, the kind of partner that she deserves. She's very disappointed in this because she feels that he should have taken a leap of faith and that you grow by being with someone. But I think actually that Zaina in that moment didn't realize it, but that was really the best gift that
100%.
JR could have given her so she can escape that man.
100%. And when we go into the reunion, you'll see why we think that. But essentially, that's not her man. They don't get married. I said when he said that he's not going to propose to her, I was like, good shot.
Amen.
100. I love a man who's self-aware, who knows, who's able to be like, Jonga, I'm not ready for you.
Free her so she can
Free
find
her so
husband.
she can find her husband. Amen.
Amen, amen.
Yeah, so that's JR and Zaina.
Right.
Next is Caleb and Mariah.
Okay, so initially we believed that Caleb and Mariah shouldn't get married.
100%.
But they should potentially stay together and work on their issues towards the goal of marriage. But we were proven wrong. Caleb ends up proposing to Mariah.
On bended knee. I said, okay, Caleb.
And so he proposes to her, and it's almost like he did a whole 180.
Yeah, he did.
From being uncertain about marrying Mariah, some of his reasons being that, you know, she's young, why does she want to get married now? To him leaving and coming out of this experience more immersed into their relationship, realizing how much he loves her and that all she just really wanted was commitment. And he proposes to her, and, you know, as you had said, he couldn't have gone through this experience and been a changed person without his trial partner.
100% Aria. Yeah. I think he needed that trial marriage so that he could actually see that, like, maybe Mariah is Mahan. So happy for
Mm.
them. They're right off into the sunset.
We still think Mariah should do
Yeah,
some
she
work.
should still do therapy and not necessarily like make Caleb her therapist, but hopefully they work on that.
Next up, we have Nick and Sandy.
Nick and Sandy
Whew. Drama,
drama.
drama, drama. So we initially believed that Sandy should not get married to Nick, and neither should Nick
Get married to
to
Sandy.
Sandy, and they
We
should
still
just.
believe that.
We still believe that. But it starts off at a point where Nick is professing his love and commitment, and as he's about to reach into,
His pocket for his ring.
Sandy says,
What are you doing?
and he's like, what is it now?
Yeah,
And he's kind of, he's kind of a little bit, disappointed, and he says that every time I try to take one step forward towards you, you are taking one step
10 steps
backwards,
back.
10
Yeah,
steps backwards away from me. And she basically just feels that they have a lot of issues that they need to work through, and I agree with her.
I agree as well.
um, and that marriage is not the resolve, and even the ring will not solve any of the deep-seated issues, and some of the trauma that Nick has around that as well. And I also just think that Sandy just wasn't Nick's person. We
100%.
saw all of those shenanigans.
And the way she disrespected him and stuff. But you
Yeah.
know what? What I did get me thinking with Nick and Sandy was, do you think that people can heal in a relationship? Because I definitely do agree that like Nick has a lot of work to do, but I will commend him in saying that like he's at least aware of the work that he needs to do. Whether he's doing it or not is a different conversation. But if somebody is like willing to do the work, willing to work on themselves, do you think that like it's one of those things where you can heal in the relationship, or should you sort of take time to do your own
I think
healing?
I think it depends,
Okay.
right? So I think that I'm not sure, but I think we're never going to be ever fully healed
100%.
entering a relationship, and your partner will always be a mirror of the things that you need to work on that aren't working on. And some of those experiences with your partner will trigger you.
Mm,
And it may not even be that, they are doing that intentionally, but they are, triggering you.
yeah.
And so I think in certain instances, if you are actively doing that shadow work as you're going through the relationship, it's possible.
Okay, shadow work.
But I do think there are just certain instances where it's not always possible to heal in a relationship, especially if the trauma that you have is spilling so much into the relationship that
Mm,
it's impossible for the relationship to exist and
yeah,
function and thrive, because like now this is the central focus
yeah,
of the work, and it's not necessarily of like us working together, building together. And so I think there are those instances where it's like I need
yeah.
to do, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I share the same sentiments. I think if a person is aware that there is work that there needs to be done, then I think the most loving thing to do is to let a person go so that they can do all of that. And like you're saying, so that they don't bleed into the relationship. I think that's very, very critical. And I also think in terms of Nick and Sandy, like it's good that they didn't end up together. I just think their relationship was very tumultuous. There was a lot going on. I think there's certain parts of Nick that, you know, this experience brought up for him that he wasn't quite aware of were there. And so I think him taking the time to be like, actually, you know what, I'm not going to propose to you,
Yeah. And
gave him that opportunity.
I think the other thing we're forgetting is that there is an age gap between them. And
True.
so I think Sandy is at the point where like she's at a life stage where she probably feels there's still so much more. I'm young, there's still a few things that I want to experience in
Yeah.
life, and marriage not necessarily yet on the cards. And I think that's a valid reason
Agreed.
to to take.
Agreed. Yeah, definitely. And then Scotty and Arya.
Oh, guys. Oh,
Oh,
Scotty. Oh,
Scotty.
Scotty. Whew. So Scotty ends up proposing to Arya, and he says this whole speech, which I just don't believe.
I actually thought it was so beautiful.
He basically says, that this experience and being with Zaina really taught him of the importance of being a good partner and showing up for her, and also that there were areas in their relationships where he wasn't doing that,
Mm-hmm.
and that he's willing to make a commitment to doing that.
100%.
But so he ends up proposing, as we had known that he would, to Arya. And there's a pause when, as he's waiting for her answer, where you could see visibly on her face that
She ain't about this
she
life.
doesn't want to say yes.
Yeah.
And
She's
that,
literally like, yes. And I was like, girl, you know you don't want to marry that man. But also, you know that he has a fear of rejection and that
yes,
he wilds out. So you said, I'm not going to embarrass this man on camera.
but I'm going to break up with him off camera.
Listen. And you know what?
We support that.
I suppose it's like when people ask you to marry them and you're at a restaurant. Don't do that.
Now, now I'm forced to
Now I
say
can't be like,
way
no, during the people.
because I'm being held against my will.
Brother. Let's not do that. That's exactly what happened with Scotty and Arya. She
Yeah.
said, crew, camera, national TV, I'm not going to say no to you.
And then when we cut the cameras,
Yeah.
I'm
She
gonna say
ended,
no to
yeah,
you.
yeah. She called off the engagement the next day,
Yeah,
which we find out in the
100%.
reunion. So,
Yeah.
and kudos to her because I also think that like they had a lot of things to work on. I think Scotty has a lot of things to work on. I think they just misaligned. They don't fight fair with each other. And I think if they did try to make a marriage work, it would just end up making them resent each other a lot more. So I think it was a good call that she called it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're now going to be reviewing the reunion episode.
Spicy.
Whew,
Okay, a
so
lot
many
happened
things.
at the reunion.
Right.
We'll start with JR and Zaina. So, of course, we find out that they didn't get married, or rather that JR didn't propose. He comes on there, and essentially we find out that a lot has happened since then. JR ain't shit is the
Our
crux,
summary
is the
of,
summary of
of
the
it all.
reunion.
But I also feel that Zaina was hanging around longer than she should have,
Oh my gosh.
because he clearly told you that Agakfuni, he
He
doesn't
doesn't
want to
want
be with
you.
you, and she was still looking for closure.
Yeah.
At the end of the ultimatum, and we then find out that they spent Thanksgiving together,
They spent birthdays
they
together.
spent birthdays
And this is
together.
even through JR. Actually, I retract my statement about JR not being shit. And the reason I say that is because when a man tells you that he doesn't want you, then you decide to still stick around. Then you're going to be hurt when this man is like, but I told you that I'm not about it. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they spend Christmases together, spend Thanksgiving together, birthdays together. The Hun said she's gonna go freeze her eggs. He took her to the appointment. I'm just
They
like,
were living
"Sis,
across the street from each other. So
now how that work?"
yeah, but I think what we realized is that in that entire experience, JR was very upfront with her to say that I don't think we should continue this. We shouldn't be together.
Yeah, I'm still processing this whole thing.
And I need to work on myself.
Yeah,
And Zaina keeps emphasizing this point about closure. We don't know what the closure looks like.
and exactly. She kept saying, "You haven't given me closure."
You didn't give me closure, and you when I asked you, so then should we see other people? You weren't clear about it. But even then, JR says, I did say if you meet someone during this time, then it just means we weren't meant to be together.
100%.
Again, a man showing you that if you walk away and you meet someone, I won't be fighting for you.
I don't know what more closure you need after that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was spicy. And then Caleb and Mariah.
Ooh, only spice there is that Arya comes to the reunion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Arya's like, okay, I see you guys. So they first start off with, oh, Caleb, Mariah, how's it gone? Lovey dovey. They're taking trips. Oh, it's been great. This is when the wedding's going to be. We're meeting photographers. We're doing this. We're doing this. Arya says, hold up. You was out here in my DMs, liking my stories. You blocked me,
Consistently
unblocked me. You've just been out here. You denied the fact that there's been an emotional connection, but there was. So like,
stalking my page.
what are the
What are
vibes?
the vibes? And
Maria's like, she was not happy.
she wasn't happy, but I think Arya, more than anything, was just frustrated with Caleb because throughout this entire experience, he was avoiding and denying that
Yeah,
they had an emotional connection.
yeah.
And so she was just like, even after the show, you were incessantly watching my stories. You were incessantly doing all of these
And then
things.
he was like, I was watching Zaina's stories. I was watching everybody's
And
stories.
then she was like, no, that's just not true. And also the fact that when we watch the show back, it is very clear that the connection isn't one-sided. Mariah ends up being very frustrated, and she's just, she's like, I knew something told me when I watched the show back that you were not being honest all those times when I had asked you.
Yeah,
And she basically, says, I'm demanding accountability from you. You need to
yeah.
own up and say that, like, if there was an emotional connection, there was.
There was.
Yeah.
And Caleb was like, ah, da, 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 da.
I take
I take accountability.
accountability.
I'm sorry.
And then Scotty also
Yeah,
adding his teeth into it.
yeah,
Anyways,
yeah.
telling people to take accountability, but he can't
But
take
he can't take it.
accountability
But
himself.
we're not there.
But yeah, yeah. So that's Caleb and Mariah. But we can see they're clearly in love. They're 2026 summer wedding. So they're riding into the sunset, really.
100%.
And then we have Nick and Sandy.
Nick and Sandy. So,
Okay. Okay. So with Nick and Sandy, they're not together. We get to the reunion, and at the reunion, everyone actually has an opinion about that relationship.
yeah,
And again, the questions come up about the fact that were you guys choosing each other less about an emotional connection, but because you wanted to jump each other's bones.
bones. Yeah. So, Nick and Zaina are obviously very aggrieved by
Mm,
um, the relationships that they each had with their partners.
mm,
Nick and Sandy obviously didn't work out, but you can still see that like Nick has some reservations in terms of what actually happened between Sandy and JR.
mm.
There's questions about whether they did hook up and do more than just kissing. We personally think that there was more than just
We
kissing.
do.
There's also a snippet of JR closing the door with his ass out. So I just feel like things happened there. But they maintain that like nothing ever happened. We find out that Nick is now in a new relationship and he's fairly happy. We find out
Yes.
that Sandy, well, we don't know what Sandy's doing,
Yeah.
but she
Yeah.
seems to be happy to not be with Nick. But then there's a plot twist. Y'all remember when the couples left, when there were some couples that left, they then bring Dave and what's that chick's name?
Vanessa.
Vanessa back.
Mm,
Vanessa was going to be Nick's initial trial marriage partner.
mm,
She comes in with Dave, basically wanting to explain. Now, if you guys have seen, you would have known that like we initially think that Vanessa has ghosted Nick, but we then see that there's a lot more context that
mm.
goes into that. Essentially, Nick was really spiraling. Vanessa was trying to be there for him. He wasn't having it. He was
He was
pushing her
rude
away.
to
He
her.
was rude. He was drinking a lot at the time because he just couldn't handle the fact that his woman was out here forming connections with JR. And so
Mm.
essentially, Vanessa was like, I'm out. So that's the context of what
She
happened
was like,
there.
peace out.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I was going to say is that what really aggrieved, I think, Nick and Zaina about JR and Sandy's relationship is
Mm,
just, the overemphasis around the fact that, one, we're forming an emotional connection when it's clear to see that like it's less than that. JR denying the fact that he was here for a whole pass, and
yeah.
then they do a recap
And we see some never
and never
before
before
seen
scenes
footage
of
of him saying that
JR,
he's here for a
who
whole
speaks
pass.
about him being here for a whole pass. He says that's been out of context, and also just the thirst. of just how he's taking this experience and just sexualizing the
So
entire
much.
process. And you can just see that, like, you were really not here to figure out whether or not you want to get married.
100%.
Um, you were here for a sexual experience.
100%.
Next couple at the reunion that we have is Arya and Scotty, and essentially what Arya says is that Scotty has been unable to take accountability for his role in the relationship, and she's
Yeah.
had to beg him
To go to therapy.
to go to therapy. And the day after he proposed was when, like, we had predicted that she called off the engagement, and she was just saying that, Scotty has just been unable to take accountability, unable to own up to the things that he needs to do for them to have a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And again, Scotty is offered the opportunity at the reunion to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that he just is not at capacity to do that. He starts to then play the blame game again and
100%
is placing all of the blame for why they didn't work out
on
on
Arya.
Arya, and says things like, I just never want to be in a position again where, I'm sure about someone who's not sure about
About me.
me.
Yeah.
And all in all, we're quite relieved that that relationship ended the way it did.
100%.
Her not going through with the marriage proposal, we knew when she paused during the proposal itself that she kind of saw that this is not my person.
Yeah.
Not my
100%.
person. So that's a gift to herself.
Yeah, I'm actually quite glad that they didn't end up together. So a lot has happened between them. She opens up about the fact that she had a miscarriage. She opens up about the fact that she
Grandmother.
lost her grandmother, and so that obviously put a lot of strain on their relationship. But she definitely holds Scotty accountable to say that, like, we said that we're going to do this thing. We said that we were going to do couples therapy, and yet it's taken a year for us to do that. I had to beg you to go. And I just think it's good that they ended up like going their separate ways.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Recommend,
Would I
rate.
recommend the Ultimatum? I would recommend the Ultimatum if you're looking for just trash TV. And the reason I say it's trash TV is because just the concept of taking your lover, this is the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, the concept of issuing them with an ultimatum on national television and then proceeding to watch them be in a relationship with somebody else is
Is wild.
wild to me.
It is wild.
One. Two, I don't think that they should. Personally, I don't think that you get a person to act by issuing ultimatums. I know that there can be ways in which you can jolt a person into doing something, but I think with something as serious as marriage and something that has weight like that, and in wanting to sort of, see your person commit to you, I don't think it's something that you should push them to be doing. Your person should want to marry you without
Agreed.
having to issue
Agreed.
ultimatums on national TV.
Agreed.
So I would recommend it for, yeah, if you're looking for just downtime. I also think it's quite good to like observe couples from the outside because in some ways, like at least for me, there are parts of myself that I see in different people that come on these shows, and it's always a good opportunity to like reflect just on myself and like how I show up in relationships. So I would recommend it for that if you're
Agreed.
looking for a good key, but also like,
Yeah.
this is interesting. Yeah.
I agree. I It's definitely not a riding into the sunset kind of love romance show that proves or feeds into our romantic fantasies.
No.
And so if you're watching it for that, your romantic dreams and hopes will be shattered,
Yeah. Go watch a rom
and your
com.
concept of love will be shattered. But I
Hundred
think
percent.
it also provides and brings a reality to how complex dating is in our generation,
Yeah.
and just how hard it is. And also just the complexities that people come with. And I think the ultimatum offers you, it's a lens into seeing just the messiness and the reality of dating today in our generation.
Yeah.
And also that, yeah, commitment isn't an easy thing for some people. I think if you're looking for shock, if you're looking for trauma,
If you're looking for kiki,
if you're looking for falling over your chair, 100%, I would recommend it for those reasons.
yeah, check it out on Netflix. How would you rate the show? One
Um,
being not good, to 10 being fantastic.
I would say a 6.5 to a 7.
Okay.
I think I think the fact that this show together, I want to contrast it with Love Is Blind and
Ah.
say that like you know we've probably in Love Is Blind in all this what 7 seasons they've had, for example, we've only had three successfully married couples, and
Mm-hmm.
I think even with the Ultimatum, it's not that many couples. That I'm just like there's the concept of this show.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's serving the purpose of like successfully ending in, or maybe that's not the
Or riding
purpose,
off
or
into
riding
the
off into the
sunset.
sunset. But
Yeah.
I just think for those reasons,
From an experiment point of view.
from an experiment, good for shock.
Yeah.
But yeah,
For its intended purpose, that like your partner, or rather that ultimatums are successful things to do.
and to build stronger relationships.
I don't think
No.
that that's the case. Yeah.
What about you?
I would also rate it a 6, precisely for that reason.
Mm,
If the objective is to see how successful the experiment is, child, don't do that.
don't do that.
But yeah, if you're looking for entertainment, kiki, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. So
Great.
thanks, guys. Thanks for
Thank
sticking with
you.
us. We hope that you enjoyed this episode.
Mm-hmm.
You can catch out the Ultimatum on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find us on all of our socials, Instagram, did you see that, underscores in between the did you see that, on YouTube as well. Catch us there, did you see that?
Spotify as well.
Spotify as well, and
And TikTok.
TikTok.
And that brings us to the end of our review. Please catch us on the next one where we will be reviewing something very exciting. But for now,
Ting,
we need to
ting,
go
ting,
because it's
ting,
about to
ting, ting.
rain.
And there's some giddy. So
Because I'm giddy. So yeah, check you later.
cheers.